Right, these are scenes from the movie Home Alone 2. And what your visual system is automatically doing is extracting all sorts of visual information, like who is there, in addition to higher level social information, like is that a good guy or bad guy? Are people interacting? And are they having a positive or negative interaction? What we're interested in doing is using movies as a natural stimulus set to study these questions, to see if this question of whose face you see and an interaction are coded jointly or separately in the brain. To get at this, we have ECOG data from epilepsy patients who have, are about to undergo surgery and have electrodes implanted on the surface of their brain. We have data from 8 patients watching 6 different movies. In addition, we have data from 2 patients performing a follow-up experiment, which I won't have time to get into today. And in both, we try and decode the presence or absence of a face and the presence or absence of a social interaction. The first thing we have to do is annotate these. So thanks to Greg Hale, we have this cool online annotation system where people see a movie clip. They have a bank of all the characters in the movie. They select a character, and then they label certain attributes. So for example, do you see that person's face, from what view, and are they interacting? And so then we can use this to go through and see if we can pick out all these features from the movie data. And we can take advantage of the fact that, for example, you have a lot of scenes without a face on the screen and many scenes with just a single face on the screen. And the nice thing about movies is you have a lot of scenes where there's one face on the screen, but there's somebody else off screen who that person is interacting with. So you can compare faces that scenes that only have a single face but do or do not have an interaction. So the first thing we tried to do was see if we could decode the presence or absence of a face. And you can, in fact, do this, and it happens quite early. So beginning around 100 milliseconds, we can tell whether or not the person was viewing a face during the movie. And we can compare this to the question of social interaction. So for example, scene 99 versus scene 90 have very similar visual content, but very different social content. And you can see that, again, we can decode the presence or absence of an interaction, but it happens quite a bit later. It seems to take several hundred milliseconds longer than just detecting a face. We can then go in and look at the electrode responses that are driving this decoding. And so, for example, this is one electrode highlighted here in one patient. And you see that this electrode has a selective response to faces. So it responds more to scenes with faces shown in red than scenes without faces shown in green, but even more so to interaction. So it seems to be modulated both by the presence of a face as well as the presence of an interaction. So what we saw was that we can use natural movies as a stimulus set to study visual perception. And I think this is a nice, more naturalistic exploration rather than just looking at static images of single faces, for example. We saw that we can decode a face around 100 milliseconds. We can decode social interactions quite a bit later, around 700 milliseconds. And there are several electrodes that jointly represent both of these features. Thanks.